the Job Summit, of course, starting tomorrow, and a key member of the business community, I would say, is Mark Bouris. He is the executive chairman of Yellow Brick Road Home Loans. Mark, good to see you. So, what are your thoughts on the business on the Job Summit that's taking place? Sans members of the Liberal Party. There are going to be members of the business community, though. There with unions. Is the mix right? What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I think Jim Chalmers' ideals and his objectives, as he just talked about, are quite lofty and to be applauded. I get it. And also this whole issue of stopping conflict between employers and employees, I get that. And I think they're great ideals. The question becomes then, how quickly, or is this period over which they're going to hold this summit enough to draw in all the commentary and all the inputs that need to be put into this whole process? Or are they just trying to get a sort of a high-level outcome out of this, which sounds like it is, with further work to be done? What I would say is this, Pete. The biggest employer in this country, outside of government and outside of the big banks and all those big organisations, are the small business community. So the small business community, which is about 2.5 million employers, employ around 70% of every single employee in this country. The question becomes, who is representing them at this summit? I haven't heard of anybody representing them at this summit. I mean, where are they taking input from that community? And that community right now is telling me, at least in my mentor business, excuse me, that the biggest issue for them right now is that they can't get employees, or where they do have employees, that they are getting pushed to pay wages at a rate higher than their business is growing. So I get it. Employees got to get paid enough to be able to take control of inflation in their own lives. I understand it 100%. But there's got to be this balance, and I don't know how the balance gets achieved. But one thing needs to happen is we make sure that these proprietors, these small business owners across our nation are properly represented at the summit. And maybe they are. Maybe Jim Chalmers can tell me they are. Right. I haven't heard who is representing those particular individuals right now.
Well, I mean, we had Trudy McIntosh, our reporter out of Canberra. She outlined those who were on the guest list a short time ago, and there's a strong union presence there, and it appears to far outweigh the number of business leaders who are there. I mean, do you have concerns about the level of union involvement, bearing in mind that there's already been some deals struck this week between the unions and small businesses?
Well, that deal that was struck between the unions and the COSBOA, which is it's a Council of Small Business Australia or something like that. I don't know who they are. I mean, I've never had conversations with them, yet I've got many small businesses. They've never approached me. I'm not a member of COSBOA. I probably talk to in my podcasts every week, probably 150,000 small business owners across Australia, like in terms of audience. And I don't know many of my audience have ever told me that they're members of COSBOA. So the question comes down to, does COSBOA properly represent the small business community? They represent a part of the small business community, but do they properly represent the small business, the whole business community? And what input has the small business community had to COSBOA, or is COSBOA making the decisions on behalf of what they consider to be the general view of the small business community, as opposed to having their own consultation process? I mean, has COSBOA done a call out to all their members, whoever they are, saying, what is it you want us to take to these meetings with the unions or whoever it is at the Small Business Summit? I haven't heard anything from anybody in that regard. It sounds like a good announcement. It may well be a good announcement, but I'd like to unwrap that a little bit and have the opportunity to see what that all means to our community. 70% of every single employee in this country is employed by the small business community.
Yep, a big number, worth exploring. Fair enough questions too. Mark, we will leave it there today. We're out of time, but appreciate that. We'll talk to you again next week.